Thanks so much for joining me for this Get Ready With Me featuring the Chanel Holiday 2023 collection. So essentially this is a one eye, one cheek, one lip, except for the cheek. This time is not a blush, it's a highlighter. So I've got that on. I also used a palette based on the directions on the Chanel site, but then I did my own twist, as you can see here, which is definitely different than how they suggested to use it. Of course, you can use it many different ways, but I will show you a couple of different looks with this palette. And I also picked up a lip. I looked at all of the shade offerings, and this is the one I thought I would use. And of course, because I already purchased this about a year ago, and thank you for letting me know because I had not remembered that that's how much makeup I go through. So I'm actually gonna try this on for you next to the previous one that I originally reviewed. So if you'd like to see the comparison, see how similar or different they are, I'll be doing that and giving you my final thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started. Starting with Le Base Illuminatrice. This is my go-to base when I want my makeup to stay in place but have a little bit of a glow also. I want my skin to look like skin because I'm gonna go kind of dramatic here with the eyes, which I haven't done for a while. I did have a question about putting together an evening look, and I may actually use this as my evening look coming up. And I ordered my very last, not my very last, but the last of the Chanel foundations I need to try. I want to go through the whole collection with you and give you some information about what I've learned about all of these products. I'm using the #1 de Chanel in BD41. And this is a more dewy kind of finish. It's very hydrating. Going in with a very, very thin layer of this. Okay, next I'm going in with Pesche. It's a color corrector. And let's just go in with those darker areas. Now that's much lighter at this point than they've been in the past. My chin, I'm using this as a bit of concealer here. And then what's cool about this brush, if you haven't seen me use this before, it's newer to me, but it just really gets that product in there. If I need to have a nice flat surface there, so there's nothing puckering out. And it keeps the density of that product. So I just want to keep it really concentrated, especially in these particular areas. Of course, we've got the Chanel Under Eye Concealer. This is in 40. Powder in 30, loose powder. Got my giant Lumière brush here. I'm just powdering the center here. Let's do a quick brow with this Chanel brown. This is in 03. I'm gonna use this Patrick Ta brow brush because I misplaced the little brow implements here again. And then let's take this wax here. Okay, I also went in with a little bit of the base by Chantecaille, the eye base in medium. Let's go ahead and play with this palette. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of glow, so nothing really matte here, but let's kind of try and follow their directions. I looked at the directions, which I don't normally do that, but I was really curious how this was meant to be used. I'm gonna take this shade right here, and I believe it said, actually, I'll double check, but I believe it said to add to the eyelid here. So what I liked about this palette, even though it's got so many shimmery things, is that it looked like there were many one and dones. It looked quite versatile. The glow is at different levels depending on the shade. So this one's quite soft, but it's kind of my skin tone. Okay, and it says you can extend this all the way up to the brow bone. So let's try that because I think it's nice and soft anyway. So let's go all the way up with this. And using this dense brush here, it's pretty dense, this #2. It's not too much. It's not putting on too much color. It's nice and soft. And that says to take the bronze shade along the upper and lower lash line to blend. So let's take that. I'm going to take the same #2, just keep it kind of soft. Well, you know what this kind of reminds me of? I'm going to have to look. The Mediterranean, that palette. It reminds me of one of the shades in there. And it says to use the deepest shade here along the upper lash line. So no real crease application here. Dotting that all along the line, right at the roots. Now they have a really graphic eye on the model I see. This shade on the lid here. So far, very soft, really nice application. And let's go in with this. This one was the chunkiest of the shadows that I saw. It kind of reminded me of the highlighter color, the lightest shade in there. Yeah, so there's more like a sparkle. Okay, so you could do that, put lashes on and be done, but I want to try something a little more with this. I'm actually going to take an eyeliner here, and this is the Chantecaille, but I'm going to intensify. I'm going to take an eyeliner here. Actually, let me just build this up here. Maybe we'll try that. So let me just build up one side and then I'll even them out later. How's that sound? So I'm just taking this, it's a very soft kohl liner. This one by Chantecaille. It's very deep as well. I'm gonna wing this out a little. Do something a little bit more dramatic and then we'll see the difference. Kind of like a base. It's a little bit low here. By the way, these more pointy cotton swabs are nice to clean up these areas in case you have a mishap, which happens with more winged eyeliner on me. So let's take the number 2 again, the REPHR. I'm gonna take this deepest shade, this black shade there, and let's build that up over here in the corner. Okay, and then let's take a bit of this shade here. I'm gonna take this bronzy shade and I'm going to apply that to the crease. This is a number 16 REPHR. Take a little of that same shade. I'm just gonna blend here in between. Soften that. This shade as well. I'm gonna place that more towards the center. Just like that. Same thing on this side. Totally different look though. This is a Sephora Pro Concealer, 45. Okay, I'm gonna add mascara and then let's take a look at the two and then of course we'll even them out. So I went in with the Faux Longest Lash Mascara by Chantecaille. You can see the difference that makes, but also the difference in how they both look based on application. So take a look and see the difference there. I'm gonna go ahead and even these out and then we'll try the rest of the products. Hopefully it's even here. Sometimes if I do one eye first and then the other eye, it's not as even versus doing one step here and then repeating it on that side as I go. I don't want to add too much blush because I have a lot going on here. So I have here Jersey. I wanted to go with something a little bit more beigey tone. So I have here a BK Beauty, the number 108. And then we're going to soften that a little bit with this Pesche Cosmique. Do you remember this one? It's got a lovely glow to it, but it won't interfere with that highlighter because it's not a highlighter. It's got a much more subtle glow. I did not realize this, especially because it said new, and this is the second time this has happened to me when I purchased something or wondered why I didn't have something, but I actually did have it. So thank you for letting me know I already have this. I already have 812, but I think I already threw away the packaging and everything. So I'm gonna probably give this one to my mom. The Rouge Allure Lustre. Really like this formula. It's nice and glossy, which I think is very glamorous, but I wanted to choose something a little bit more subdued because this eye, actually they look a little bit, why do they look a little different? So here's the newer one and here's the one I had previous to that. Huh. Let me swatch them first. 812. So there they are swatched next to each other. This is a new and this is the previous. New, previous. They look slightly different. Like this looks like it has more of warmth to it and this looks a little bit cooler. This a new one. So well, maybe I need to just try them. Then you'll know if it's the same as the one I had before. Let's do that. Let's do half of the old one here and half of the new one here. Yeah, really hydrating. This looks a little mauvier. Interesting. Well, they swatched a little differently, but on they look pretty much the same. But that is interesting that they swatched differently. What I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this and then let's put the new one on just so you can see it in case you want to pick it up. I think the balance of the two keeps it fresh versus dated. It said you could use this together or separately. When I have the new REPHR brush here, the holiday brush. I haven't used that, so let's try it. Let's go in separately first. I liked this shimmer better. Lovely shade to it. You can see it there. Ooh. So this applies much differently than how I thought it would, because it seems like the shimmer is quite dispersed when you swatch it, but on it has that wet look as if it was born from a liquid highlighter. That's beautiful. Oh wow. I'm always surprised when highlighters perform better than I anticipate, because I'm not the biggest highlighter fan, as you know. If you've been here before, it's not the first product I would select, but that's really pretty. Lovely. Okay, let's do this one. Let's do this. This was the one that really looked like it had some intermittent shimmer. Let's try it just by itself. So I'm just flipping the brush over. Lovely brush, by the way. Okay, this one reminds me of that, their balm sticks, the ones that have, which one was it? It was like crushed diamonds and pearls. That's what this one reminds me of. Okay, this one is not my favorite here. It's a little on the sparkly side, but I really like this one over here. That's beautiful. So not my favorite. Lovely, really lovely. Okay, now I'm gonna have to try and even that out. And you can actually combine these. So let's see what they look like combined, because we're going to end up combining them anyway. So I'm just gonna swirl the brush here and then let's add it on. Oh, I'm glad I did that, because I actually like them together as well. It cools it down a little bit because you can see the warmth. It's like a peachier tone here, but this cools it down a bit, but you still get a little bit more of an even glow, which I prefer. So if you really want to go holiday, I think combining these two together is really lovely. Ooh. And if you have texture here, yes, it is going to bring about some texture. So just be aware, because anything that's going to reflect the light like this, it will bring it about, unless it's something that's got more of a balmy texture to it. It doesn't have that much of an emphasis on the texture, but yeah, especially powder is going to do that. So what I'm going to do is add a little bit down the bridge of my nose, this one right here. Actually, let me do a nice brush. Let's do this. It's going to be a little bit dense, but it's the Sonia G brush here. This, and just go down the bridge of the nose. Kind of lightly. Just going to contour the nose here with Victoria Beckham's Marble. Just on the sides. Final look here, just put my Chanel jacket on for the occasion. But I am pleasantly surprised by all of the items here. So starting with the eyeshadow palette. I thought it was going to be kind of dry and not blendable based on the original swatches I did. The shimmer looked intermittent. By itself is a very nice palette. It blended well. You can see its versatility and that it can be built up if that's what you want. So I was able to use this really nicely as a crease color. It did work quite seamlessly together with everything. I think everything blended well. The part that I didn't love was this, because it's sparkly. That's not my kind of finish, but it definitely elevates it to a party look. But if you don't want a party look, you could definitely use this palette as a daily. I just wouldn't use this last shade here, but these are very wearable shades, especially for a holiday palette. What I found in the past with palettes, like holiday palettes in general, amongst all kinds of brands, is that they tend to be chunkier in their glitter. They tend to be a little bit more dry, but this one was really lovely. Then for the highlighter, again, I was surprised by the performance based on the swatch. I did not love the swatches. I thought they were kind of chunky. This felt a little bit creamier than this bottom shade. This white shade felt kind of dry as well. And on application, kind of like the very light shade in here. I knew it wasn't going to be my favorite shade, and it wasn't. But like I said, the rest of them are lovely. And same here. This was not my favorite shade. It was a little bit too much of an intermittent shimmer, a little too sparkly for me, but I really enjoyed this shade and I liked them together. So if you're a highlighter fan, you can see how lovely that glow is. So, so pretty. In terms of the swatches, this was a little bit more mauve-y than the original one. The original one looked slightly warmer on swatch, but on they were virtually the same. I will be using this for a holiday event coming up. I think it's a really, really pretty one. I love that it's a bit neutral, but still interesting and still dramatic. Drama is definitely in order for evening holiday events. I will also be using the highlighter with this whole look because I think it really pulls everything together. And then the lip, my preference is something a little bit lighter when I have a dramatic eye, and this is a beautiful shade. But do let us know if you picked up this collection, what you think of it, how you paired it in terms of lip and cheek, because I think when you go dramatic on the eye, it can be a little tricky with those, but let us know in the comment section below. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other, stay well. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time.